Howard Cosell had faced many challenges in his life and career, but nothing had ever truly defeated him. He stood by Muhammad Ali when most of the world turned its back on the boxer. He received death threats because he defended civil rights. He constantly fought with TV network executives and upset many fans, but he always stood his ground. It seemed like nothing could bring him down. But everything changed one night in September. During a football game, Cosell made a comment, just one sentence, that caused a major scandal in broadcasting. It was so controversial that it destroyed his legendary career almost instantly. What he said shocked many people, but the real surprise was who came to his defense afterward. Howard Cosell was born as Howard William Cohen on March 25, 1918, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. His parents were Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe who had fled persecution and come to America for a better life. His father, Isidore, was an accountant, and his mother, Nellie, stayed at home. They believed deeply in the power of education and passed that belief on to their son. The family didn't stay in North Carolina long. Before Howard turned 3, they moved to Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn was noisy, crowded, and full of immigrant families trying to survive and succeed. That environment helped shape Howard's bold personality. While other kids got into physical fights, Howard preferred to use his words. He read books, quoted them, and always had a clever response ready. He was confident, quick-witted, and not afraid to speak his mind, even as a child. As he got older, Howard began to understand how important identity could be. While studying law at NYU in the late 1930s, he made a big decision. He changed his last name from Cohen to Cosell. He said it was a way to honor his grandfather's original Polish name before it had been changed at Ellis Island. But there was another reason too. He wanted to stand out, especially in fields where having a Jewish name could make life harder. Cosell wanted to be remembered. Even in high school, he had already begun making his mark. At Alexander Hamilton High in Brooklyn, he became the sports editor of the school paper. He didn't write cheerful stories. He wrote bold opinions. Some students disliked him, while others admired him. Either way, no one could ignore him. He was already showing signs of the fearless broadcaster he would one day become. By age 21, Cosell had earned 2 degrees from NYU, one in English literature and the other in law. That was unusual and impressive. But even with his success, he wanted more than just a stable job. He wanted to be known. He wanted influence. His parents were proud of him, but they didn't fully understand the ambition that burned inside their son. When World War II broke out, Cosell joined the U.S. Army. From 1942 to 1945, he served as a major in the Transportation Corps at the New York Port of Embarkation. It was a huge responsibility. He had to help organize the movement of troops and supplies to Europe. One mistake could affect entire missions. But Cosell was calm under pressure and quickly proved himself, becoming one of the youngest officers in that role. While serving in New York, he met Corporal Mary Edith Emmy Abrams, a WAC sergeant. At the time, it was against military rules for officers to date enlisted personnel. But Cosell didn't care about the rules. He boldly asked a general for special permission, filled out the paperwork, and got approved. Emmy's family was conservative and didn't easily accept Cosell, but the two stayed together. They married in 1944 in a Brooklyn judge's office and stayed married for 46 years until Emmy's death in 1990. After the war, Cosell returned to New York and started a law practice in Manhattan. He was successful and had well-known clients, including baseball star Willie Mays. He earned about $25,000 to $30,000 a year, which was a lot at the time. But he wasn't happy. Practicing law didn't fulfill him. He would pace around his office pretending to give speeches or narrate sports games. Friends thought he was strange, but to Cosell, it felt necessary. He once said he didn't have enough mediocrity to survive in law. He needed something bigger. That something was sports broadcasting. In 1953, Cosell got a break. ABC radio executive Hal Neal offered him a chance to host a small radio show on WABC in New York. The show featured Little League kids interviewing Major League Baseball players. Cosell agreed to do it for free, while still working as a lawyer during the day. He didn't earn a penny for nearly 3 years, but he didn't care. It was his foot in the door. During one interview, Yankees outfielder Hank Bauer casually criticized his manager on air. That small comment made headlines. Cosell realized that real, honest conversations could be powerful. If people were allowed to speak freely, they often revealed deeper truths. That idea stuck with him. Later, ABC President Robert Pauley challenged Cosell to find a sponsor for a new sports segment. Cosell not only found one, he launched a show called Speaking of Sports, which ran for decades. It marked the start of his career as more than just a host. He was shaping sports journalism. By 1956, Cosell left law for good and became a full-time sports reporter for ABC Radio. Most sportscasters at the time avoided controversy and stuck to simple, polite questions. But Cosell was different. He was blunt and fearless. In one interview, he asked a player if his teammates refused to pass him the ball because he was too selfish. That kind of direct question shocked people. Cosell listened carefully to every answer and wasn't afraid to dig deeper if something didn't sound right. While some disliked his confrontational style, others admired it. Athletes like Tommy Smith, who raised his fist in the Black Power salute at the 1968 Olympics, chose Cosell for interviews because they knew he would take their message seriously. Cosell wasn't just a sportscaster. He was a voice for fairness and truth in a world where those things were often pushed aside. Howard Cosell earned a reputation for something rare in sports broadcasting. He always told the truth. He didn't try to please athletes or protect anyone's image. He spoke honestly about bad behavior, poor performance, and even difficult topics like racism, politics, and war. While many told him to stick to sports, Cosell refused. Some viewers admired him for his courage, others disliked him for being so direct, but no one ignored him. People called him both the most hated man in sports and the conscience of American sports broadcasting. His voice was unforgettable, sharp, steady, and clear, and his catchphrase, "This is Howard Cosell telling it like it is," became iconic. One of the most important relationships in Cosell's life was with Muhammad Ali. In 1964, when the boxer changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali, most of the media refused to acknowledge the change. Reporters kept using his old name, and many people were angry at Ali for converting to Islam. But Howard Cosell did something bold. He called him Muhammad Ali on national television. Cosell didn't care about the backlash or hate mail. He believed everyone deserved to be called by their chosen name, and he knew what it felt like to be an outsider. As a Jewish man who had faced prejudice himself, Cosell connected with Ali's experience. That decision, speaking Ali's name with respect, formed a deep bond between them. It wasn't just about sports. It was about standing up for someone's identity and humanity. Their connection grew stronger during one of the most controversial times in American history. In 1967, at the height of the Vietnam War, Muhammad Ali refused to be drafted. He said the war went against his beliefs and his religion. For that, he lost everything: his boxing license, his title, and most of his public support. The media labeled him a traitor and a coward. But Cosell didn't turn his back. He defended Ali on television, saying the punishment was unfair and went against the principles of freedom. Cosell criticized the government, even when it risked his own career. Sponsors threatened to pull their money. Executives asked him to stay quiet. He didn't. He spoke up for Ali because he believed it was right. Once again, Cosell took the hate and kept going. Their friendship was now more than professional. It was personal. They stood together during a storm, two men from different worlds, united by courage. Their on-screen chemistry became legendary. For nearly 20 years, Cosell and Ali shared unforgettable moments on television. Their interviews felt like live performances. Funny, sharp, full of jabs and comebacks. Ali would joke about Cosell's hairpiece or his big vocabulary, and Cosell would respond with sarcasm or challenge him with tough questions. They teased each other, but it was always respectful. Behind the jokes was genuine admiration. They trusted each other, and viewers could feel that. When Ollie was banned from boxing and forgotten by many, Cosell didn't forget. He brought Ollie on air, not just to talk about boxing, but to talk about his beliefs, his fears, and his dreams. Cosell helped the public see Ollie as a real person, not just a fighter. That made a lasting impact. One of Cosell's most famous broadcasting moments came in 1973, during a fight between Joe Frazier and George Foreman. Frazier kept getting knocked down, and Cosell shouted into the mic, "Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!" His voice captured the drama, the shock, the energy of that moment. It wasn't just sports commentary, it was history. People still quote that line today. Cosell didn't just report sports. He made people feel something. Ollie once said that Cosell gave him a voice when no one else would. Cosell said that Ollie helped him grow beyond being just a broadcaster. Together, they challenged America to face hard truths about race, religion, war, and identity. And they did it with respect, intelligence, and bravery. In 1970, ABC executive Roone Arledge made a risky move that would change sports TV forever. He hired Howard Cosell to be part of the Monday Night Football broadcast team. It was a bold choice. Cosell wasn't a former football player or a typical commentator. He was opinionated and intense. The NFL didn't like it. For years, they had controlled who got to sit in the booth. But Arledge refused to let them decide. And he was right. Viewers loved it. Ratings went up by 50% in the first season. People weren't just watching for the football. They were watching for the personalities behind the mic. The next year, Arledge made another unexpected decision. He replaced longtime announcer Keith Jackson with Frank Gifford, a former football star who had never done play-by-play. It wasn't about experience. It was about chemistry. Cosell brought drama, Don Meredith added humor, and Gifford brought calm and balance. Together, they formed a team that changed how America watched sports. Viewers didn't just tune in for the game. They tuned in for the arguments, the jokes, and the unpredictable energy in the booth. Cosell and Meredith often clashed on air. Their tension was real and raw. They joked, argued, and even appeared a bit drunk on one occasion, but the audience didn't mind. They loved the unpredictability. Fans chose sides. Were you Team Cosell or Team Meredith? It became part of the fun. Bars and living rooms were filled with debates about the broadcasters, not just the players on the field. Arledge encouraged the chaos, knowing that real emotion made great television. Monday Night Football wasn't just a sports show anymore. It was a cultural event. On December 8, 1980, Howard Cosell delivered one of the most shocking and emotional moments in sports television history. As the Miami Dolphins and New England Patriots were playing the final minutes of a Monday Night Football game, a message came through the broadcast booth. John Lennon had been shot outside his New York apartment. He was dead. Cosell had a choice. He could have waited. He could have let someone else deliver the news. But he didn't. He broke the story live on air, interrupting the game with a calm, measured voice that carried a weight far beyond sports. Yes, we have to say it. Remember, this is just a football game, no matter who wins or loses. An unspeakable tragedy confirmed to us by ABC News in New York City. John Lennon, outside of his apartment building on the west side of New York City, the most famous, perhaps, of all of the Beatles, shot twice in the back, rushed to Roosevelt Hospital, dead on arrival. The country was stunned. Millions of viewers sat in silence, trying to absorb the news. Cosell's voice was steady, but you could hear the emotion behind it. It was more than a report. It was a moment that connected the world of entertainment, music, and sport in the most tragic way possible. And once again, Cosell was at the center of it. That moment crystallized what made Howard Cosell different. He understood that sports didn't exist in a bubble. They were part of life, intertwined with politics, culture, war, race, and yes, even death. He wasn't afraid to break the script, to say something uncomfortable, or to speak hard truths. And that's why people never forgot him. Cosell's career eventually wound down, but his influence never faded. He redefined what it meant to be a sports broadcaster, not just someone who recited stats or praised athletes, but someone who interpreted the world through sport. He was complicated, bold and insecure, brilliant and abrasive, arrogant and deeply loyal. He made enemies, earned fierce admiration, and left behind a legacy no one else could replicate. In the end, Howard Cosell didn't just tell it like it is. He changed what it meant for sports to have something to say. Howard Cosell had a moment of hesitation before sharing the news. He didn't want to be the one to say it on live television. But his co-host, Frank Gifford, urged him that he had to. So Cosell went on air and told millions of viewers something that would stop them in their tracks. This is just a football game. An unspeakable tragedy confirmed to us by ABC News. He then announced that John Lennon had been shot twice in the back and was dead on arrival. After that, everything fell silent. People at home sat frozen, shocked by what they had just heard. No one expected such heartbreaking news to come during a football game. But that night showed just how powerful television could be. Cosell wasn't just calling a game. He was the person who broke the news that one of the most beloved musicians in the world was gone. Years later, on September 5, 1983, another Monday Night Football broadcast would change Cosell's life, but this time in a very different way. The game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins was intense, with fans across the country watching closely. But the most memorable moment wasn't a play on the field. It was a comment Cosell made while describing Washington receiver Alvin Garrett. He said, "That little monkey gets loose, doesn't he?" Just 6 words, but they caused a huge uproar. People were stunned. Phones at ABC were flooded with complaints, and the media exploded with criticism. Newspapers, radio shows, and television panels all debated what Cosell had said. Reverend Joseph Lowery, a prominent civil rights leader, demanded a public apology. He didn't stop there. He sent telegrams to ABC executives asking for action. Lowery used the incident to point out a bigger problem. While many black athletes played on the field, there were very few black voices in the broadcast booth. As the backlash spread, Cosell tried to explain himself. At first, he denied using the phrase, "little monkey." He said he was only commenting on Garrett's speed and meant it as a compliment. ABC stood by him, saying the remark was about the player's agility, not his appearance. But the broadcast footage confirmed what people had heard. Cosell had said the exact words in question. That made things worse. What started as a bad moment quickly became a full-blown scandal. Cosell tried to defend himself. He explained that he had used the phrase for years and never in a racist way. He pointed to past examples. In 1972, he called white player Mike Adam a little monkey. And in 1982, he used the same term for Glenn Howard, another white athlete. He even said he used it affectionately with his grandchildren. Supporters reminded the public of Cosell's long-standing support for civil rights. He had stood by Muhammad Ali when others had turned their backs. He had challenged injustice in sports. But none of that seemed to matter now. Surprisingly, some of Cosell's strongest defenders were black leaders and athletes. Jesse Jackson supported him. Muhammad Ali spoke in his defense. And Alvin Garrett himself, the man Cosell had described, said he didn't take offense. He explained that he liked Cosell and didn't find the comment disrespectful. Still, public opinion had already turned. Many people believed the comment was racist, and that version of the story stuck. Even with support from people he had championed, Cosell couldn't recover. The outrage kept growing, and by the end of the 1983 football season, he stepped away from Monday Night Football. After 13 years of helping to shape the program, he was done. He called the whole experience emotionally draining. Cosell had already been growing tired of the direction football and television were taking. The scandal just made it worse. His departure marked the end of an era. 4 years, Cosell had been a bold, fearless voice. He had challenged players, coaches, and even entire leagues. But now, a single sentence had brought his television career to a stop. Although he stayed active on radio until 1992, he was never the same presence again. His personal life also started to fall apart. In 1991, at the age of 73, Cosell was diagnosed with cancer. Doctors found a tumor in his chest and he had surgery that summer. Around the same time, he was dealing with the loss of his wife, Emmy, who had been by his side for nearly 5 decades. She was his emotional anchor. Without her, everything changed. He tried to keep working, but his health was declining. By 1992, he retired for good. His last years were spent fighting not only cancer but also heart disease, Parkinson's, and minor strokes. Interviews from that time show a man full of regret. He felt like he had been pushed out before finishing what he had started. The strong voice that had once shaped how America viewed sports had grown quiet, and most of the world barely noticed. Howard Cosell died on April 23, 1995, in New York at the age of 77. The cause was a heart embolism. The news brought mixed reactions. Some people called him a legend and a trailblazer, a man who made sports broadcasting smarter and braver. Others only remembered the controversies, the harsh attitude, and the fall from grace. There were respectful tributes and harsh criticism. Some fans mourned him. Others didn't. But even though his reputation had been damaged, his impact was undeniable. In 1993, 2 years before his death, TV Guide named him the greatest sportscaster of all time. That same year, he was inducted into the International Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. In 1994, he entered the Television Hall of Fame, though he was too ill to attend. After his death, more honors followed. In 1996, he was given a posthumous Sports Emmy for Lifetime Achievement. He was added to both the American Sportscasters Hall of Fame and the International Boxing Hall of Fame. These awards were a final recognition that, no matter the controversies, Howard Cosell had changed sports media forever.